Alrighty. Hey, hi everybody. My name's Alistair Gray. I'm the National Academic E-Learning Manager at Endeavour College of Natural Health, and I'm here with David Stelfox in Adelaide, Assistant Program Leader, Naturopathy. And just thought we'd take the opportunity to have a conversation, really, just about the latest in, especially in naturopathic medicine. So David, talk us through the regulatory framework as it is at the moment in Australia and any changes coming up.
Sure. Well, I guess recently we've seen statutory registration of traditional Chinese medicine and also acupuncture, and there's been quite a bit of speculation that registration of naturopathy, of naturopaths, possibly nutritional medicine practitioners and herbalists might follow on from that registration.
Yeah.
The advice that we've been given from with APRA. Now, APRA is the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency,
yep.
And their advice is that it's highly unlikely that we will see registration of any more of our professions, naturopathy, nutrition, herbal medicine, within the next 5 years. Now, of course, that position might change, could change, but that's the recent advice that we've been given.
Isn't that interesting? 5 years. Now that's a big window. That's exactly the advice that they've got in the UK actually as well. In terms of natural medicine, there's nothing else going to be regulated from government. So, what's your take on that? Because of course in our profession there are those folks that are big advocates of regulation and those that would prefer to regulate ourselves, which is what we've been doing kind of for 100 years or more. So does the college have a stance on that, or does the department or you have a stance on that at all?
I think more and more it's being acknowledged that statutory registration of health professions is a good thing.
Yep.
And along with traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture, just recently there are about 4 or 5 other health professions that were registered, including radiologists and Aboriginal Torres Strait Island health workers, and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So I think it is a trend. And I think that registration of health professions does give some sort of assurance of a standard in health practice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think more and more people, more and more agencies, more and more associations are coming around to that idea. I guess, unfortunately, one of the main characteristics for determining whether or not any sort of profession should be registered is whether or not it's safe or unsafe.
Yeah, it does damage. That's right. Yeah.
That's the catch-22, because most of the things that we practice, naturopathy, herbal medicine, nutrition, etc., homeopathy, etc., are pretty damn safe. There's not a high level of evidence that they cause harm, although there's always that potential. So I think that's probably the main reason why at this point in time APRA have sort of shelved naturopathy, nutrition, herbal medicine, homeopathy, etc. But as I said, that position could change, so we always need to be alert for that.
So that's regulation and where it stands at the moment. So what's happening with the medicines part of the profession? What's going on especially with the TGA that regulates all of these things at the moment and naturopathy?
Yeah, Therapeutic Goods Administration, they're responsible largely for, as the name suggests, they're largely responsible for monitoring, regulating therapeutic goods. And nutritional supplements, herbal remedies fall into that category. They've got fairly minimal regulation of those, however. But what we saw recently, back in May, was that the TGA are trying to look at ways that they can be more effective in controlling unsubstantiated therapeutic claims for natural health products, or really any therapeutic goods. And they put out a proposal. Well, first of all, let's go back a bit. Practitioner-only products are a category of therapeutic goods. They include nutritional supplements that are a formula. So they don't include single nutritionals like vitamin C or vitamin B1 or B12 or vitamin D. They do include a formula that might be used for stress, that might be used for liver function or antioxidants or what have you. So a combination of nutritionals or a combination of individual herbs. These fall into the category of practitioner-only products. And by and large, these are products that aren't readily available to the public. They're meant to be prescribed through a bona fide consultation with a health practitioner, a naturopath, nutritionist, homeopath, etc.
Yep.
Now, sometimes manufacturers or distributors of practitioner-only products make claims in their advertising and their promotional information that's not supported by any evidence. And this is the thing that the Therapeutic Goods Administration is concerned about.
Yep.
So while TGA doesn't have the power to stop this, it can determine who does and doesn't receive this sort of information. And back in May, they proposed 8 different reforms to the existing legislation that relates to advertising of therapeutic goods. And one of those was to restrict provision of advertising and promotional information on practitioner-only products only to registered health practitioners. Now, what that would mean would be that naturopaths, nutritional medicine practitioners, herbalists, homeopaths could no longer receive this sort of information. It wouldn't mean, and this is really, really critical, it wouldn't mean that they would no longer have access to the products,
right,
to practitioner-only products. Only the advertising, only the promotional information. But the response from stakeholders to this TGA proposal was quite interesting. The TGA received 1,200 submissions against this specific proposal, and one of those 1,200 submissions actually included a petition that had 22,000 signatures on it, and that's the greatest response that TGA's ever received to proposed changes of any kind at all. So they were clearly overwhelmed by that. They realised that they need to go back to square one and have a look at it and see where they go from there.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a bit of misinformation out there, isn't there? And there's a couple of, it matters. It matters a lot to practicing naturopaths and homeopaths about having access to their drugs. So what's some of the misinformation that's out there? Some of the myths or rumours?
Yeah, the biggest one, as I suggested, is that should this proposal go through, should it go through, and it seems unlikely that it won't. We'll get back to that in a second, but should it go through, it would not mean that naturopaths, nutritional medicine practitioners, herbalists, homeopaths would no longer have access to practitioner-only products.
Right.
You would still have access to practitioner-only products. The other sort of misinformation that's out there, or misinterpretation, I guess, is that people would no longer have access to individual herbal remedies. So herbal tinctures, a herbal extract of echinacea, or St Mary's thistle, or St John's wort, or what have you. Those aren't listed as practitioner-only products because they're single ingredients.
Right.
So even if this proposal did go through, even if the legislative change went through, herbalists, naturopaths, etc., would still be able to access individual herbal products anyway. But look, the good news is that the TGA has sat up and listened. They're interested in what professional associations, manufacturers, distributors of these practitioner-only products have to say. They're working with us. They've been, since May, since the responses came back in, since the submissions were provided, a lot of forums, a lot of meetings between professional associations and the Therapeutic Goods Administration, a lot of discussion. There's another one tomorrow in Sydney, quite a big one of associations, and they're interested in listening to us, interested in what solutions we can provide that they'd be happy with, that would give a happy medium.
Yep.
And I'm pretty confident that the end result will be that natural therapists will still have access to information, advertising, promotional information about practitioner-only products. So I'm not too concerned about it, Al.
Yeah. And it's good to hear because, I mean, you're in the thick of it. I think, one of the things that people forget is that as a college, we did a very, very significant submission to the TGA earlier in the year, am I right? A lot of time and energy went into that one. But you're also, you're part of a professional association network that many of the senior academics at the college are, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Professional associations do play an important role in monitoring what's going on in the profession, representing members, and students can be members of professional associations, and I'd certainly encourage that. Usually there's no cost involved in being a student member, so I'd certainly encourage that. It's a way of really keeping abreast of any changes, any threats to the profession, of being well informed. So I'd certainly encourage that. I think the thing you're making reference to, the submission that the college made early in the year, was another slightly different issue.
NIHMA, yeah, that's right.
That related to private health funds and the prospect that private health funds may no longer pay rebates for visits to natural healthcare practitioners. And yes, we made a significant, a substantial submission to that, and that process of determining that inquiry by the Chief Medical Officer of Australia is continuing, and it seems like we're not going to get an outcome to that until next year sometime. But, you know, that's another thing that students, lecturers, you know, all of us really need to keep our ear to the ground on, and we'll provide that information, any sort of progress about that, to students and staff via this medium. So
regulation, so access to our tools of trade, herbs, medicines, and then insurance. These are the kind of political bullet points at the moment, really. Is there anything coming up in the next few months that we need to be aware of as we head towards the end of 2013?
Only the things that we've mentioned, I think. I think you know, the inquiry into health fund rebates, private health fund rebates for natural health care, that seemed to be progressing well. There was very good representation by stakeholders in our profession, so I think I'm pretty confident there'll be a good outcome there. And then, as we said, the TGA, probably the next highest priority thing, and our students, our practitioners, being able to access information on products. Registration, you know, as I said, not on the immediate horizon, but yeah, again, something that students should be continually aware of, I think.
Absolutely. All right, cool. Well, it's good to touch base and good to kind of get a you know, an overview, a bit of a landscape of what's going on. So really appreciate it. Thanks, David.
No problem. Thanks, Al.
All right. Take care. See you, mate.
Good. See you, mate.
Bye.